In the following tutorials, I'm going to show you how to create an hourly weather infographic in the Inovista Animator. The infographic will use a range of animations to present different aspects of the weather. The weather type is shown with a holding image, the temperature with a movable gauge, the wind direction with a rotating indicator. Textual values are zoomed and resized to the correct location, and finally a smiley is shown. Depending on the weather, the smiley's mouth morphs into either a frown or a smile. Let's open a static SVG image of the infographic without any animations. The image contains a variety of elements, some visible, some invisible. The element tree on the left contains a reference to each element in the image. Clicking on either an image element or the element tree will highlight the selected element. Note that as some images are stacked, it may be easier to select it directly from the tree. There are 6 weather type images stacked on top of each other. Clicking on the eye icon next to the ID of the image will hide or show it. Here, we want to start with an initial image, then flip it and show another image to represent the weather. So first, we select Edit next to the Weather Init image, then New Transition to show a list of available transitions. Select Combination. We are going to use a scale transition to simulate the first part of the flip. Use a duration of 750 milliseconds. Open Scale and select the Include checkbox and set the X scale to 0. Assuming we want to show partly cloudy, select Part Cloud, which is currently invisible, then edit and create another combinations transition. Set a 0 duration so that the effect is instant, and add another scale transition, setting the X scale to 0. We can make the image visible at this point by opening the Attributes section and setting the opacity to 1. Then change the animation by creating another combination transition using a duration of 750 and a delay of 750, and this time set a scale transition with the X scale to 1. Running the process should give the impression of a flip from one image to another. Now, to be able to set the visibility with code or an external tool, we will make the opacity a variable, so enter Part Cloud Viz text in the opacity field. Repeat this process for each of the weather type elements: thunder, mixed, rain, and clear, creating a variable for the visibility for each. We can edit the duration or delay of any of the transitions in the Transition Editor panel. Clicking on one of the transitions there will open the transition details in the Transition section at the left. We then have a list of the variables under Variable Values. Setting any of these to 1 will make it visible and 0 to make it invisible. Next, we will use the central part of the thermometer to move to the current temperature. The therm needle element has already been defined with a Y scale of 0 in the SVG file. We will update this at runtime with a new scale. Select the therm needle and add a new combination transition. Set a duration of 750 millis and a delay of the same amount. Then, in the Scale option, set the scale on point to bottom center, which means scaling will happen as an upward motion. Use a variable's temperature value to set the Y scale. We can also change the easing type to back out, which will provide a more realistic effect. In variable values, set the value between 0 and 1. When we set this value externally, we will need to factor the actual temperature data to a representative value between 0 and 1. To represent the wind direction, We will spin the arrow to the degree value of the wind. 0 for north, 90 for east, 180 for south, and so on. Select the arrow element and create another combination transition. Set a duration of 750 millis and a delay of 500 millis. Select the Rotate Include checkbox and enter a variable name of wind direction in the Rotate To field. Go down to Variable Values and enter a value between 0 and 360 for the angle. It's probably worthwhile to add a backout effect to this animation as well. Let's now take a look at the text animations. The text will zoom into place from the top center of the image. So select weather type from the element tree. We can't see in the image as it is invisible. If we want to make this visible temporarily, we can click on the editor icon to the left of the element name and deselect the hide checkbox. To initialize the text with a variable value, select Edit and create a new combination transition. Set a duration of 100 millis and in Attributes add a variable weather type to the text field. As this is non-numeric, we need to select the text is a variable checkbox so that the animator knows this is in fact a variable value. Once the text has been set, we create another combination transition, this time with a duration of 0. This transition will do 3 things. First, move the text to the top of the image. Open and include the movement section. For both X and Y, set Go to a pixel and the percent icon. Set the X value to 45 and the Y to 0. This will move the text to 45% across the image and at its very top. Then, open and include the scale section and set the X and Y scales to 0. Finally, we can make the text visible at this point. Open the Attributes section and set the opacity to 1. We want the text to zoom to place after the initial transitions have occurred, so create another chain combination transition and set the delay to 1250 millis, leaving the duration at 500. Open and include a movement. Here, we are going to use the Add Home option to move the text back to where it was originally located. Do this for both the X and Y values. Also include a scale, leaving the default values of 1x and 1y. Repeat this process for the other text elements, temp text and wind speed. If we enter some test values into the text variable items we have created, we can see the text entered for those variables zoom into place after the initial animations. That leaves the smiley. To view the smiley, find it in the element tree and click the eye icon to make it visible. Opening the node in the tree, we can see that the smiley contains a number of sub-elements including flat, smile, and frown. To view this, select the Edit icon and then deselect the Hide option. At the end of the above animations, we want the smiley also to zoom into place, so edit the smiley and create a combination transition. With a 0 duration, add a scale and set the X and Y scales to 0. Chain another combination transition, duration 500 and a delay of 1800, which is the end of the above animations. Add a scale with X and Y set to 1, and also make the smiley visible in the Attributes section. Now, we're going to morph the flat image to either smile or frown depending on the weather type. For example, we will set a smile for clear weather. So select Edit next to Flat and create a Morph Path transition. Set the duration to 750 millis and the delay to the end of the smiley animation, which is currently 2300. Select the Include next to Morph Path, and as we will use paths that are already in the image, select the User Data variable for Path Values Radio. Then, as we will use a variable for this value, select the variable referring to a Path ID radio below it. Enter a variable named Mouth in the empty text field, and to complete the options, select Move Selection to Path. This will move the new morph image to the location of the starting image. If we don't select this, the image will move to the location of the target. We can now test this by entering either smile, frown, or flat into the mouth value in variable values. And of course, if we want, we can experiment with various easing effects. We are now ready to export this infographic to a web page, Tableau, or Power BI. In other videos, I show how this is done. Please check out those or the other videos for more detailed tutorials on how to get the best from the animator.